All right. Today, our Virgil is with us, and he's going to be our presenter. Let me. Sorry for the delay on that. He's been with our community for about 2.5 years. He has already completed 17 fix and flips, and he's on his 18th. And today, he's closing on his 19th property. He has a property in Ireland. It is just a neat story. I can't wait to hear more about this. It's a 3-story, 17th century cottage. It's going through a complete gutting and rehab and scheduled to be completed about next May. That property has increased already in value 200,000 euros since he purchased it last January. He's a product of the product with Renatus. He has purchased over $6 million in real estate without using any of his own money or credit. Virgil, so glad you're with us today. How are you, sir?
I am good. Can you hear me? Hear me,
You
Ron?
bet. You sound great, Virgil.
Good deal. Good deal.
Let me do this right. Make you host. Okay, there we go.
Okay. Good deal. All right. Everybody hear me all right? Thanks. Looking forward to pitching in here this morning. It's pretty dang exciting, folks. This is just a wonderful opportunity. We are so blessed as a community, as individuals, to be part of this because it's just pretty dang phenomenal. Before I kick off with what I wanted to share with you, my own personal notes. As a member of the lit team, I got some requests to share with you some of the things that some tips for success. I don't know, for those of you locally here in Utah who were able to attend our Super Saturday, it was just a phenomenal event. We had some excellent training, and someone who really stood out was Josh White. The guy's a stud, but he gave us some really good tips and basically laid down protocol for etiquette. What we do at our Epic event on Thursday nights, that is our flagship event. It's what is the main engine that drives our business. And I like what John O'Neill says, is that even though maybe Mitch Nelson or John O'Neill is the presenter, every single one of us that attends, we also present. We got to come there prepared to bring our A game. And that's really important because when people go there for the first time, we need to set that right impression. And so some of the things that I just want to remind folks about is that when we go to attend, whether we're up in a class or whether we're down at the Epic presentation, watching the 4 pillars, we need to be focused. We need to be listening. We need to not be scanning Facebook or texting people or sleeping. I'll tell you, I actually do the Spanish follow-up on Friday nights, and I'll be doing actually that Spanish presentation tonight for Ryan and Laura on my property in Millbrook, in Mill Creek. And I'll tell you, when you're up there in front of the room and someone is sleeping, it's really distracting. It's not easy to, maybe Mitch is used to it, but it's a distraction. So we need to go there bringing our A game and staying focused. And I've probably seen Mitch's presentation 150 times. I don't know how many times. And we have to laugh at his jokes. When he asks people a question, we need to raise our hands. We need to stay engaged. When I sit in front of his meeting, I pull out my iPad and I'm writing everything down like I've never heard it before, because the person sitting next to me is my guest. That's the first time they're listening to it. And if I'm just sitting there wondering, why my life is so boring, what kind of impression does that give them? So let's do our best to stay engaged and support our presenters and be part of that process, because we're also presenting. One of the things that we wanted to bring up is in the hallways last Thursday, and I know everyone has the best of intentions, but the Spanish presentation, our first exposure, Ryan Black was doing a great job, and that room was packed, and there were people outside the hallway talking. and it's a distraction. It basically de-edifies the presenter and minimizes the whole purpose of what those classes are for. So, we close the door, and then all of a sudden, you get 40, 50 bodies in a room, and then that place starts cooking. So we'd open the door because you're dying of heat, and it goes back and forth. So one of the things that we'd like to do is, for those of you who are local here in Salt Lake and do go to the Salt Lake Community College for Epic, we have the sofa area in front of the Pepsi machine. That is now designated as like the business area. If you need to take care of something, and a lot of times it is urgent stuff that you're networking and taking care of stuff with fellow students and associates that you're doing deals with, take it down there to that spot, because it's away from all the classrooms, and it'll allow us to continue doing the instruction that we need to do. One of the things that John O'Neill mentioned is we need to encourage people to go to more meetups. This is a great way to meet people. And when you go to those meetups, you say, hey, this meetup was great, but I'm going to an amazing presentation on Thursday night. Why don't you come along? So that's a great way to build up your marketing. So enough of that. But what I'd like to share with you is just some of the things that I've been able to do over the last 2.5 years to build up and edify my business brand and who I am as an investor and fix and flip or rehab or whatever you want to call it. I have basically been, for the last 2.5, this March will be 3 years, so it's coming up, branding myself as someone who invests in real estate. And everybody who knows me knows what I do. Everybody knows me has a good idea that I've been doing this for a little bit of time now. So going forward, you need to share with people what you're doing. Speak to everyone. It was pretty interesting. I was Juan Peroni. We call him 2-Day Juan because he's certified. He got 5-star qualified in 2 days, which is nuts. So we call him 2-Day Juan, for those of you who don't know. He's a great guy. And we were about 3 weeks ago having dinner one night at Denny's. And there was a group of Latinos in the table across the restaurant. And they were all speaking Spanish. And they looked like they were obviously part of some organization. And he didn't waste very much time. He got up and went over there to introduce himself. And right when he went to go introduce himself, the waitress came and said, okay, could I take your guys' order? And obviously he can't introduce himself in the middle of the waitress taking an order for 10 people. So he went back to our table, and all this is recorded. So we have video proof of this because I was recording him, and he was using this opportunity to train his team. So when the waitress was done, he got up again and went back, and he introduced himself. And it was funny. He's flapping his wings, his arms like an eagle, and he goes to these people, and you can imagine this. And he said, he goes, I'm an eagle, and I perceive that each one of you in this table are eagles. And he went on to introduce himself. And you know what? One of the ladies on that table, sitting at that table, bought her education last night. So from a simple act, Juan was able to increase his income by $10,000 in as little as 3 weeks. So that's pretty dang awesome. So kudos to him. But we need to be looking and looking for opportunities to build our business every day. And social media is a phenomenal way to do that. So you need to be dripping on people and sharing with them. If you're not using social media, you need to be using it because it's a phenomenal opportunity to get out to the masses. And everybody who likes your post, you have to acknowledge that and click like. And if someone has asked a question, you respond to them, you private message them with the response. But leverage your experiences with education, what you're doing, and leverage that and let people know what you're doing. A lot of people, they work 9 to 5, they go home, they sit and watch Netflix and they contemplate, how miserable their life is. So we need to be leveraging what we do. We're pretty dang active as a community, and you need to be using that to your advantage. Look for opportunities to make opportunities for yourself. As far as the work I've done, this property in Ireland, I have a dear friend of mine. She's an architect, and she went back. People are like, well, how'd you find this property in Ireland? She went back to Ireland to reconnect with her family, and when she was out in Ireland, she contacted me and said, Virgil, there's a property here that we need to get. We need to buy. She knew what I was doing, and we ended up getting that property. And it's a phenomenal opportunity. And was the timing perfect? No, it was not perfect. Has there been sacrifice? Absolutely. But nothing worthwhile is easy. No one boasts how they were able to open a box of cereal with one hand, so nothing worthwhile is easy. Everything worthwhile takes sacrifice. But this property that we were able to get, we purchased it in January of 2017. We bought it for 125,000 euro. It had been completely gutted. It's a 3-story 17th century Irish cottage. It was built in, I believe it was 1670. It's kind of crazy to own something that's older than the country in the United States, right? But it's been completely gutted. All the framing has been done. We've removed all the plaster on the walls, so the original stone is exposed. All the rough plumbing has been done. All the rough electrical has been done. And we're on schedule to complete that remodel and put it on the Airbnb market. Yes, it's going to be available. We're going to put that on the Airbnb market, and it's going to do very well based on the market analysis for that town at this point. And right now, that property's increased in value, 200,000, thanks to this education. I was able to run numbers and do the analysis, and have these discussions with my business partner on that property. And thanks to what we know here, we were able to leverage that. So it's a phenomenal opportunity. But for those of you who are into flips, you have a better foundation. But for those of you who haven't gotten into a flip yet, and I talk to a lot of you, I see some desperation or some worry. Oh, it's been a while. I've got to get into my first flip. It'll happen. Don't stress out about it. It'll all come along. Just stay focused and stay on track, and plug into the community. There are so many people that randomly show up, that miss Super Saturdays, that don't go to Epic, or if they go alone. The beautiful thing about our system, folks, is that you plug in to the extent you want to, right? If you develop relationships with people, you're going to be lucky to get a call saying, hey, what happened? I didn't see you at Epic. But if you haven't, and you're kind of obscure, and you come and go, and you're wondering what's going on, that's your own fault. You need to plug in. You need to plug into this community and be a part of the community, make friends, make relationships. It's a wonderful thing. I harp a lot about being your own, to me, it's a big deal to be my own boss, to set my own hours, to decide which properties to even go look at, and which ones I get to offer on. Like Ron said, today we're closing on a property, and with 2 other members of the community, we're closing on a property in Taylorsville. It's going to be phenomenal. And you get to pick who you do business with, and you get to pick who you don't do business with. And I love that. I relish that, because days as being an employee and going to work and having to deal with a crummy boss or crummy coworkers, and all the politics and people stabbing you in the back and trying to throw you under the bus, those are over. So it's a wonderful thing, guys. So, and gals. So leverage what you're doing now for your future business, and don't be afraid to think about what you're going to do in the future. And every business opportunity, market it, because you will be and are as you speak. The fact that you're sitting here listening to a morning call on a Tuesday morning at 8:28 in the morning is evidence to me that you're being successful. And success is nothing other than working toward the goal that you're ultimately striving for. Remember that money and flips and properties aren't success. It's a result of that success. And so you're going to go forward, working toward the goal that you have, whether it's doing fix and flips or multis or wholesaling or any of those awesome things that we get to do as real estate investors, and working toward that goal. And don't get discouraged. There was a member of the community a few months ago, and he was standing out in the lobby, and he was just completely stressed. And I went up to him. I go, "Hey, how's it going? You okay?" And he's like, "Oh, I can't believe it. My guest isn't coming." And it's like, hey, it's not the end of the world. There are people in my life that I've been trying to get to come to Epic for 3 years plus. It's ever since Mitch got in, but they'll get there because they're still interested. It's just some people take time. So if someone doesn't show up, don't get discouraged. It's easy to read people's faces. If you're happy, you're going to be happy. If you're discouraged, you're going to be discouraged. And discouragement and disappointment are detractors. Nobody likes to. That's not an attractive emotional state. So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you guys. Build your brand. Share with people what you're doing with your friends on Facebook, on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram. Share what you do because people are watching it. People are going to notice what you're doing. If you're not branding yourself now, jump on and start doing that because it's a phenomenal opportunity. It only builds momentum. When I think about momentum, I think about what Mitch at Nelson's accomplished. And we were talking just a few weeks ago. He said, Virgil, when I decided to do marketing, I worked my tail off for a month every day, and I couldn't sell one combo. So here's the great Mitch Nelson saying that he worked his tail off for a whole month and couldn't sell one combo. And now everybody thinks, Mitch sells a combo before breakfast, and he's the number one producer in Renatus. So don't be discouraged because, like I said before, everything worthwhile does not come easy. It is going to require sacrifice. There are going to be setbacks. If you haven't read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, you need to do so. And if you haven't read it in the last month, you need to do so. I listen to the book once a month. I have some favorite chapters, but I'll listen to that when I'm getting ready, taking a shower, getting ready in the morning. You'd be blown away how much time you spend in the bathroom every morning, and use that for valuable time to multitask. But to me, that is the seminal book on self-improvement. And most of us could always use a little bit of rewiring and some reprogramming of our attitude and our mental thought patterns and what we naturally talk to ourselves about and what we think. And that is the best book out there. There's a lot of great books, but to me, that's the best book. And I'm a big fan of that. So I listen to that on a regular basis, and I always come away better for it. So I think that's all I wanted to share with you guys, everyone, today. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Ron, for this opportunity, and I'll turn the time back to you.
Well, Virgil, it was time well spent this morning. We sure appreciate your coming. We'll hope that you'd come again with us on an upcoming Tuesday.
Be happy to.
All right, everybody, let's take this information and go out and be successful. That's the end of our phone call. Thanks for being with us.